Everything out of me. They gonna get a Super Bowl out of me. Believe that. Believe that. I'm a Raven. It's on. All year. Every year.
What's up, guys? Welcome into another video. In this video we're going to be discussing my views, my hopes, aspirations, whatever, for the defensive line of the Baltimore Ravens this year. So basically I am going to be speaking about my thoughts on the defensive line, sort of where we are, what their expectations are for their growth for some of them. But this is also kind of how I believe that Calais Campbell going to the Atlanta Falcons might actually be a little bit of a blessing in disguise. Obviously, he's great. He's a good leader, whatever, but I think there are some positives that can actually come out of this situation with some of the guys that we have that will now have an increased role. And I've got some stats that I want to read off to back up my view on this. So the guys that we're actually going to be talking about, we're not going to be talking about everybody. I'm not going to be talking about guys kind of down the depth chart or whatever, not too far anyway. So I'm mainly going to be talking about four guys: Michael Pierce, Broderick Washington, Travis Jones, and Justin Madubuike. I might bring up Brent Urban every once in a while, but that's more so for comparison reasons rather than just what I actually have expectations for him. I mean, he's been in the league for 8 years. We kind of know exactly what Brent Urban's going to bring when he is in there, and I don't see him having a ridiculously high snap count anyway. Yeah, so the first guy we'll talk about Michael Pierce. He's been in the league for 6 years, and I have some stats and figures of sort of where he is and you know what he brings to the table as a defensive lineman. So yeah, like I said, he has started for 8 years. I'm sorry, that's Brent Urban. Michael Pierce has started in the league. He's been in the league for 6 years, been healthy for 71 games. He's started 41 of them. He's not really like a pass defender kind of guy. He's 6 foot. He's not huge. Got his numbers up here. You can see he's got some pass deflections. He's got forced fumbles and fumble recoveries. He's the only one that I'm going to be talking about that has stats for that, just because he's in and around the quarterback a lot, which is what we love about him. You know, and 6.5 sacks. So the tackles are sort of what you would expect for a guy that's been in the league for 6 years, but even compared to the other guys, he has a lot of tackles, which is good to see, right? Like, I like to see that he's up in the middle, he's good against the run, because for me, I like Michael Pierce rushing the passer. I like him getting pressure in the middle and sort of disrupting that pocket, especially when we're going against some of these guys where the offensive line is maybe not fantastic. And so if we can get pressure up the middle off of these quarterbacks, then that's going to make it a lot easier for our secondary and a lot for our outside pass rushers, you know, who maybe can skim off some easier sacks or force the guy even back into the middle. He does have 16 tackles for loss, and he's got 18 QB hits. So not crazy numbers, but again, I think, you know, you can look at when he was really starting, he has a lot more of those numbers to show. Anyway, all right, so next guy we're going to be talking about is, we'll just talk about Travis Jones, because he's only been in the league 1 year, and he didn't play the full year. He only started in 3 games. He was quote-unquote healthier on the roster for 15. You can see the numbers here. He's got a pass deflection, 1 sack, you know, decent tackles, again, for only being in a few games and definitely in a rotation as a rookie. And he's got a couple QB hits and a tackle for loss. So I expect him to get more playing time this season, still be part of the rotation, kind of behind guys like Pierce and Madubuike and Washington. But I do expect with Campbell leaving that he will get more starting time, more playing time, and we'll see those stats sort of trend upwards. Next up, Broderick Washington. Looking over his stats, he kind of is the player that he is who we thought he was. No, he's fantastic at stopping the run. He's great in the middle. He's a good bottleneck. And it's actually off of a lot less production than a lot of guys on this list. Like, he's been in the league for 3 years, same as Justin Madubuike, but out of 39 games, he's only started in 11. And he's got 6 passes defended, 2 sacks, a good amount of tackles, and they're across the board. Like, his solo tackles and assisted tackles are right around the same, 33, 34. I was actually impressed, being that he is more of a pass rush, or not a pass rush, more of a run blocking type of lineman, to see that he does have some tackles for loss and QB hits. So he's getting to those gaps, and he is creating at least enough pressure out of the middle to be able to get some of those numbers up, which is good. Last but not least, Justin Madubuike. I mean, I am, just like everybody else for the Ravens fan base mainly, I'm really stoked for what this guy is potentially going to bring this season. Looking over his numbers, they are just trending up every single year. So he's got, out of 42 games, he's got 30 games started, and those were increasing snap count. So his first year, 3 games, 11 games, 16 games. That's nice to see that he stays healthy. Passes defended, again, 0, 2, 3. He's just continuously, as he gets more snaps and more experience, his production carries over, right? It shows that the more snaps this guy gets, the more productive he is, which is what you want to see. He hasn't had any forced fumbles. He hasn't had any fumble recoveries. But I think more so that is, again, a lack of being in the middle, because he's certainly around the quarterback. His numbers for sack numbers, this is the one that I'm really excited about. 1 sack in his first year, 2 in his next year's, 5.5 last year. 5.5 sacks. And yes, he got more playing time than previous because of Michael Pierce going down, but with Calais Campbell out of the way, even with Michael Pierce in there, they're going to have them both on the field. And with either Pierce coming up the middle or Madubuike, I mean, that's a really good recipe for collapsing the middle of that pocket and forcing them outside. And even his tackles, his tackles are on par or better than what Michael Pierce has as far as tackles. And I think Michael Pierce is a fantastic tackler up the middle for being a defensive lineman. So he's got 60 solo, 37 assisted, and 97 tackles overall. And again, in half the amount of years that Michael Pierce was playing. So he is on an accelerated track as far as the tackles, which I love to see. He has 17 tackles for loss, which is more than anybody on the list, including Michael Pierce. And QB hits, he's only 2 below Michael Pierce. So I think a lot of that will come down to him getting more opportunities and sort of just getting more snaps and being able to get more production in. So yeah, and he's looked great during camp. A lot of the defensive line has looked good during camp, before they put the pads on and even after. Now, part of that is the offensive line is not 100% complete, as they still need to figure out who's going to be starting at the left guard position, and also they're bringing in a new, offensive scheme, right? So their blocking might change a little bit, not a lot. I don't think it's going to be like, a completely new concepts. Like for the run blocking, I think a lot of this concepts are going to stay the same, right? They're going to use a lot of the stuff that Redmond had in place and, simply add to that. And a lot of the players are saying that it's a bit of a simplified playbook, but it basically just asks them to do a little bit less, which I think, will benefit them. But as far as the defensive line, I'm really excited about this group. I didn't really end up mentioning Brent Urban. His really only stat is his pass defended, right? Like, he's tall. We know he's tall, and he's basically our guy that's in there to block field goals and things like that. So I think he's a good piece. He's a solid guy. He stays healthy, which is good. Just not really expecting huge production out of him, but he is a good depth piece, a good role player, and a good leader, and veteran in the room. So anyway, yeah, those are my thoughts on defensive line. I see this group being better than initially thought. And I'd love to hear your guys' comments below. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know sort of who is your best defensive lineman standout in this group. All right, well, that's going to be it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.